How's it going, guys? Nerd Person Shooter here. So a few weeks ago, I talked about poorly reviewed games that I ended up liking. Games that were kind of guilty pleasures, or games I didn't understand why it got so much hate, or why I understood, but I just didn't agree. Well, there are certain games on the other end of that spectrum, games that were critically acclaimed unanimously globally, that I didn't love. And there's a few of them that I really want to talk about. Now, this video is probably going to get some backlash. Might even get some dislikes. I don't care. You know what? Because I'm used to that by now. Fuckers. So, I feel like we've all grown up, or at least most of us, grew up with a certain shooter. Whether it's Doom, or Halo or Half-Life or Duke Nukem. A lot of people grew up playing GoldenEye on the N64. And when I first had my Nintendo 64, I think it was like 2001. We didn't play it often. We only got a few games for it, actually, like Mortal Kombat 4, that really bad Mortal Kombat Mythologies game with Sub-Zero. And we got Resident Evil 2 on the N64. That was actually the first time that my brothers were finally able to play Resident Evil 2 because we didn't even have a PS1 yet. And so we weren't really a fan of the N64. And we hated the controller. We still hate the controller. I at least still hate the controller. But I got another N64, I think in 2012, and I decided to pick up GoldenEye and finally play it for the first time, and I don't care for it. I mean, first off, right off the bat, I don't care for Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. I never really got into that sort of James Bond series with Pierce Brosnan. I was always more of a Timothy Dalton guy, even though he only had two movies, and of course Daniel Craig. But, I think GoldenEye 007 hasn't aged particularly well for someone who didn't grow up playing it. Because it's a very important video game, and I will always admit that it's a very important, kind of like a landmark title in the first-person shooter genre. So I'll always give it praise for that alone. But I think it was one of those things where, like, you had to have been there back in the day, playing four-player, two versus two on the same console, split screen, four-player with your friends. Because I hear them, I always heard the multiplayer was really awesome. Never got to it. I missed that part. But going on to like the campaign, I just can't really get into it. Um, I actually did finally play through the whole thing, and it took me a lot of effort because I suck at the game. I struggled even on the easiest difficulty, which is just agent difficulty. But I recently beat it, I think in January on Xbox Game Pass. And I don't really feel like ever coming back to it. And I think that's because, unlike a lot of you guys, I don't have nostalgia to kind of look back on with that game. I didn't grow up with it. I missed it, and when I finally got around to playing it, it felt very outdated graphically and in terms of like the controls. I don't care for GoldenEye 007. I remember playing a little bit of Perfect Dark, which I actually like more than GoldenEye because that one actually had voice acting, the graphics were a bit better. I think the gameplay was a little bit smoother. Again, I didn't finish that one, but I hope to plan to someday. Um, but yeah, GoldenEye to me just didn't age well. It didn't age as well as something like Doom, where Doom is like just as addicting as it was when I first played it. It just felt very, I don't know. There's not really anything I can use to describe how I don't care for it. You know, all I can say is I didn't grow up with it. A lot of people would probably hate these Siphon Filter games. Like imagine playing Siphon Filter finally for the first time 25 plus years after it came out. And yeah, you probably wouldn't like it, but I still love it because I grew up with it. So when I went back to it in 2022, it took me a little while to kind of readapt my brain and like remember how the game is played. But once it did, I fell back into it. I fell back into loving that game, particularly the first one. I like bits of the second one, but not like the second half, and the third one's okay. But the first one, in my it's still my favorite Siphon Filter game. But yeah, that's like an example, like a game that I grew up playing that aged better to me because I grew up playing it. I think that kind of things applies to GoldenEye as well. Um, so yeah, I missed out on GoldenEye, and when I finally got around to playing it, I just didn't like it. Hang on one moment. My phone's about to die. I'm about to move to my second chair so that I'm closer to my charger. Hang on. I did not think this one through. So the second game I want to talk about is an indie game that originally came out on Xbox Live Arcade and I think PlayStation Network. I'm not quite sure. This is an indie game called Braid, and it's a puzzle game, kind of like a side-scrolling puzzle game where you manipulate time to kind of solve your puzzles. And I'm dumb when it comes to puzzle games, okay? But Braid especially gets under my skin. It pisses me the fuck off. And this is a game that got like it has like a 95 on Metacritic, and in a way I can kind of see it. Visually, the game is gorgeous. I love the art design of Braid. It's like very watercolor and almost like cell shaded watercolor. It's a beautiful game, and it has really good music, and it seems to have a pretty good story. But I just can't I can't get behind on the gameplay. I hate it. Or at least I hated it when I first tried it a few years back. I actually did recently get the remastered version for like $5. It was on sale for $5 with the remastered on Xbox One. So I'm gonna give it a second chance. And I'm gonna see if I can kind of like reverse engineer my mind a bit. Because I'm not I'm kind of impatient when it comes to puzzle games, but it's kind of like a trial and error. And I fucking hate trial and error in puzzle games. Um, that's kind of the whole point of puzzle games, I know. Um, I don't really have much else to say about Braid. It's a really beloved indie game that I just haven't enjoyed, at least yet. I'm hoping to, though, the next time I play it. Anyway, it's time to move on to the third game I talk about. So it's funny. This third game is probably the most successful game of all time. It's a game that everyone has played. And this actually, when I first kind of started this YouTube channel, I did those top 10 best games of the year slideshow. This was actually my game of the year in 2013 at the time. I replayed it a couple years back, or at least some of it a couple years back, and I look back on it less favorably as I used to. This is a game that I still like, but not love. And it's Grand Theft Auto 5. I prefer 4. Honestly, I prefer Grand Theft Auto 4 to this. I think Grand Theft Auto 4 has a more compelling storyline. I think Nico Bellic is a better protagonist than any of these three guys. They're kind of like stereotypes. You know, you get your Franklin's kind of like your gangster guy, and then what's his name? Michael. Michael is like the struggling family man who's like borderline psychotic, and then there's Trevor who is full psychotic. But I didn't find any of these characters. Maybe I did when I first played through it, but when I played through it again and I look back, I'm like, none of these characters are as captivating as Nico in Grand Theft Auto 4. I also find that a lot of gameplay aspects were kind of watered down in 5 from 4. Like the physics, I think the 4 was notorious for having ragdoll physics, but that's actually one of the reasons why I love Grand Theft Auto 4. I remember I used to just like jump in front of cars all the time and just like watch Nico fly 15 feet and then still like get up. Um, and for some reason, I think the cars drove better in 4 too. I feel like the cars had more weight. Like if you drive like a Cadillac, it actually felt like you were driving a Cadillac in GTA 4, or like a big pickup truck. You could actually feel the weight in GTA 4. Whereas when I'm playing GTA 5 or GTA 5 online, a lot of vehicles, even different vehicle types, feel the same. They feel like they're the same weight. There's no weight distribution to different cars in GTA 5. I will say that I like the open world of 5 more than 4. 5 has more open world variety. It has it's San Andreas, so it's got like a desert portion. It's got some mountains. It's got a city, and it's got some small towns, and I really love that. Like my one of my favorite game worlds of all time is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and 5 is more like that, whereas GTA 4 was all city, like in GTA 3 or Vice City. But other than that, I mean, maybe the gun plays better too in 5, more, there are obviously some refinements here and there from GTA 4 to GTA 5, like a better cover system, better, shooting mechanics, but I just find that the story, the characters, and just the general presentation was less dark than 4. 4 was just really deep. It was really emotionally taxing in certain points, whereas GTA 5 is more like an action comedy. And God, I fucking hate GTA Online. I hate the people who play this fucking game. And I'm not speaking for everyone in particular, I'm just speaking for randoms that shoot you and run you over for no reason when you're just like trying to do stuff like fucking withdraw money from your ATM. Like people will just like shoot you for no fucking reason. I'm like, why? Like you get a little bit of XP from killing people, not as much as like doing missions or races or other activities. You get a little bit for killing people. Why the fuck do you do it? Like I don't belong here. I don't belong in GTA Online. It's not for me. I despise it. It's like my least favorite multiplayer in gaming history. I hate GTA Online, and that's like half this fucking game. So, um, now GTA 4 Online, I don't remember being much better. I'm just not a big fan of Rockstar's online implementation. I wasn't a big fan of Red Dead Online either. But yeah, what else is there is to say about GTA 5? Looking back, it's not my 2013 game of the year, at least not anymore. That was kind of like the honeymoon phase, like where I was like, "Wow, that was awesome! That was GTA. There's a new GTA game." Looking back, the Last of Us, I think the Last of Us I like more. Actually, I think I like BioShock Infinite more too. I don't know. I prefer GTA 4. Also, in GTA 4, you could do activities with more people than just like two people. Because like, in GTA 5, you can only hang out with the three guys, with the three main characters. In GTA 4, you could hang out with like almost every major like story character. You can hang out with like Packy. You can hang out with your cousin Roman. You could hang out with little Jacob. Fucking God, who else was there? Was it Daryl, Darren, or Daryl? Daryl or Playboy X, whoever, whichever one you don't kill, you get to hang out with. Um, it just had more stuff to it. It had more depth. Like the actual city felt more alive too. Like you could actually play pool and just like play bowling and stuff. And I felt like I could go in more interiors in GTA 4 than in GTA 5. Unless I'm just either that or I'm remembering too much of other games. But yeah, I find that GTA 4 was a better, more interactable Grand Theft Auto game than GTA 5. So yeah, that's my third game. So now my fourth and final one that I want to talk about. You know what? I'm just gonna go out and say it. The Legend of Zelda, as in the whole franchise, with the exception of maybe a couple, like one or two. Like my personal favorite is probably Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, and maybe Link's Awakening, which I never tried, but I feel like if I did try, I'd probably like that one more than all the 3D ones. I guess I mainly refer to the 3D Zeldas, the newer Zeldas. Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. It's good, it's fine, but it's just kind of like I can live without it. I don't really get why it got so critically appraised. I mean, yeah, it's got a huge open world that's rich to explore and stuff, but it does get kind of repetitive in my opinion. Same can be said about the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom. It's kind of the same thing. It's actually the same exact map, but you have like these new sky islands to explore and stuff, which in my opinion makes it even worse than Breath of the Wild because I fucking hate trying to explore the sky islands in Tears of the Kingdom. I do kind of like the Ultra Hand where you get to like fuse items together to make new things and have that extra imagination to solve puzzles. I do like that a lot. That portion was actually good enough for me to top this off in my top 10 of 2023. I barely put this on. I put this as my number 10 behind RoboCop Rogue City. Only because I like the Ultra Hand. But other than that, I don't really care much for it. I actually never finished it. I played a lot of it. I played it for like 70 hours or so. I just never finished the main story. And I don't really have any fascination on going back. I mean, these are two games that got like a 97 on Metacritic. Like insanely high. But to me, like I mean, they're more like 87s, Turn that 9 into an 8. But whatever. I just can't really get into Legend of Zelda altogether. I was kind of interested in that new one, the one that came out last year, where you get to play as Princess Zelda for once. But the more gameplay I looked at it, I'm just like, nah, not for $60. You know, I'm just not a big Zelda fan. I don't like how they kind of rehash the same story over and over again. It's kind of the same issue I have with Mario, except I find Mario's gameplay to actually be more fun than Zelda. I think Mario 64 was a better game than Zelda Ocarina of Time. That's just my opinion. Okay? This is my opinion. I'm sorry if that pisses you guys off. Sue me. Okay? I dare you because I got $0.02 left. And I just gave those 2 cents away in this video. So there. Those are the games that got critical acclaim that I tried to love And even though I liked most of them, I didn't like them enough to be like, yeah, this is one of the best games ever made. Nah. Anyway, guys, what are some games that got amazing reviews that you hated or just didn't understand? I can't wait for this video to get 10 views and no comments. Why bother even saying to comment down below? It's the same one person saying number one YouTuber. Don't get me wrong, I'm flattered, Kirk, but yeah, you're basically my audience at this point. So